Welcome to the Good Beans Cafe, a very special primary election candidate forum. I'm Tom Sumner. State Representative Woodrow Stanley is prevented from running for re-election to the 34th District, which leaves an open seat. There's always a lot of interest in an open seat in the State House, and this Democratic primary has attracted 8 candidates. They've all been invited to participate in today's program. Before I get to the introductions, I want to thank the Good Beans Cafe and all of you who have gathered here today, whether you are a candidate, pundit, member of the technical teams making this available for replay on radio, the internet, or television, or if you're a member of the audience. Now the introductions. In a moment I will introduce the candidates. They will be given an opportunity to make brief opening statements, but first our esteemed panelists. I'll begin by welcoming our esteemed panel of premier political pundits, starting with Paul Rozicki from Mott Community College. Paul, thanks again.
Good to be here.
And on the other end, we have George Moss from the University of Michigan-Flint. George, always good working with you.
Thank you, Tom.
And last but not least, our media guest panelist. You may have read her columns in M Live, seen her on public television as a pundit for Tim Skubik's Off the Record, or you may know her work as the publisher of Inside Michigan Politics, Susan Demas. Thanks again for coming over and being part of this, Susan.
Thank you.
Now on to the candidates and the rules of engagement. If you don't know by now, there are 8 Democrats running in the August primary for the 34th District seat in the Michigan House of Representatives. They are Jeff Bean, Donna Calvin, David Davenport, Eric Mays, Nathan Morrish, Quincy Murphy, Sheldon Neeley, and Omar Sims. In a moment, I will give each of you 90 seconds for an opening statement, and we'll begin the questions from the panel. There will be an opportunity for a closing statement at the end as well on the forum, but first a few guidelines. Time is tight, so we're going to try to keep it equal, so try to be specific and brief when answering. I know that's an oxymoron in any political discussion, but you will have 60 seconds for each answer. When you hear this bell, you have 15 seconds to finish your answer. We'll start the opening statements with Jeff Bean. First question will go to Donna Calvin, then we will rotate which candidate answers first throughout the rest of the forum. I caution the panelists, and of course I'm always tempted to single out George Moss when I say this, that you have 30 seconds in which to set up the context for each of your questions. If you get to 30 seconds, you will hear the bell, and I will ask you to ask your question. Now for the opening statements, remember you have 90 seconds. When you hear the bell, you have 15 seconds to finish your comment, and please address your comments to the panel or the audience and not to each other. We want a forum, not a debate. Mr. Bean, we start with you. You have 90 seconds for an opening statement.
Thank you, Tom. My name is Jeff Bean. I'm a 22-year dues-paying working member of the United Teachers of Flint. I'm a happy teacher in the Flint Community Schools. I've served my students and parents from all over the city, not just a ward or a precinct, and so I truly enjoy the opportunity and the possibility of going out and bringing all of those voices to Lansing. I think I'm a good choice in this particular instance. I'm articulate, I'm a combative researcher, and a collaborator. I can speak to Kalkaska and Dowagiac with equal ease. If I can get to the Flint, I would like you to consider one of the things that I've accomplished recently is negotiating a contract between the United Teachers of Flint and the Flint School Board. It's no mystery the financial difficulties that Flint schools are having. So if I can get the Flint School Board, the superintendent and teachers on the same page, I think I've got a shot in Lansing. I've had a career already. I'm not looking to be a career politician. What I'm trying to do is bring common sense to Lansing. We don't need more of the same old. What we need are fresh ideas, a new way to look at it, and new perspectives for the possibilities that could be Flint's future, or Michigan's future. Thank you.
Well, came in just under the bell there, Jeff. 90 seconds to you, Donna Calvin.
My name is Donna Calvin. I'm a lifetime resident of Flint, Michigan. I'm a single mom, mother of 2. I grew up in Flint. My background is I studied management at Alabama State University. I am currently studying accounting at Mott Community College. The last 5 years I've been working in the community through working as the president of my neighborhood association and working in an organization that has gathered together the different organizations in the city to find out the things that the city of Flint needs from the residents. So over the last 5 years, I went to all of the building neighborhood power workshops that were given in Flint. I worked on the South Side neighborhood plan, that we had a plan for what we were going to do on that side of the city. In management, I've held jobs in administrative management, retail management, and property management, so my background is really diverse. Right now, I'm a community organizer, so I feel that in being a community organizer,
15 seconds.
because I see that in handling the job of a legislative representative is to organize the community to know exactly what it is that the community wants, and then to come back to the community and take those things to Lansing. In organizing.
Thank you. 90 seconds to David Davenport.
Good evening. My name is David Davenport. Originally born and raised in Dayton, Ohio. Graduated out of high school, went to the military. I'm a veteran of the United States Navy. Did various jobs after that all over the world. Thailand, Africa, Singapore, Philippines. Then I wound up in Flint, Michigan. As I wound up in Flint, Michigan, I've stretched my education out, computer information technology. At my community college now, I got 3 classes away from computer information technology, cybersecurity at Baker. I've been on the board of education for 5.5 years. My goal for running for this seat is to shift the laws with the times. There are so many different things that are going on inside of the school system, but there's no laws to regulate it. And that's the problem we're having as far as finances, as far as children not staying. So part of that, also I care about people. I love people. It's in my heart. I want to get up to the state rep seat to, first of all, try to get some sense about this water fund and why the rates are getting ridiculous and running the people out of the state of Michigan. So the bottom line is I'm asking you for your support so I can get up and bring back some immediate help, not waiting 2 or 3 years down the line saying I'm working on it. Immediate help. Because I will take funds out of my taxpayers' dollars and definitely put in a fund to help the water fund.
Thank you, and we'll skip over Eric Mays. We'll add him if he gets here late, and move on to Nathan Morrish. You have 90 seconds.
Good afternoon. Thank you, Tom, and thank you, Good Means, for having us here today. I'm a resident of Flint, and currently I work as an emergency medical technician and a national representative for the International Association of EMTs and Paramedics. I cover Michigan, Minnesota, Wisconsin, and Illinois in my jobs with that. As far as doing labor contracts, I've got that experience under my belt. I decided to get into this race because I was sitting at home, as every concerned resident normally does, reading the paper and seeing the candidates that were in the race already, and not one person had mentioned crime as their #1 reason for running. Flint is crime capital. Anywhere that I go, we're #2 on the FBI's worst cities list currently. And to me, we're not going to get economic growth. We're not going to rebuild our tax base. We're not going to rebuild our schools with the crime the way that it is. It's a vicious cycle that we're dealing with here in Flint. And I think that we need to get tougher on the crime. We need to have more state police in Flint. We need to regionalize our resources and work with county and city and state to really tackle this war on terrorism, as I put it, in the city of Flint.
Thank you. We were doing this in alphabetical order, but Sheldon, Neeley, and Quincy Murphy played musical chairs on me here a little bit. So we'll go to Sheldon, Neeley. Sheldon, you have 90 seconds for an opening statement.
Well, thank you, and thank you to Good Beans for having us, and thank all of you that's in attendance and that's also going to be viewing this via internet or television. My name is Sheldon Neeley, and I'm currently a city councilman serving in my 3rd consecutive term for the west side of the city of Flint. one of the most progressive areas inside of our city, that is the west side, not to diminish any other area of our community, but through our leadership, we've been able to prove that economic development can happen in this community. One of the reasons that I'm running for this State House seat is that I'm the most qualified individual at this time to be running for this particular seat. I am a successful, proven problem solver inside the city of Flint, and that shows in the work that I've done. And I would encourage anyone to just look at the body of work that I perform. I'm not imagining things about our work, but we have a body of work that we can stand on and that I'm very proud of. One of the primary roles of a state legislator is to provide legislations to support our cities and our state of Michigan through these troubling times and through this transition of economic hardship throughout our country. One of the primary roles is to write legislation to increase the quality of life for residents not only in our city of Flint, but in the state of Michigan. As a city council person, I produce more legislation in this community, positive legislation that enhance the quality of life for residents inside the city than any other council person in history. And we can do that. We can continue to have economic development, educational opportunities, residential places for our families to live, and recreation opportunities for our children. We need these things to survive, and I'm the person that you would vote for today.
Thank you. And 90 seconds to Quincy Murphy for an opening statement.
Good evening. My name is Quincy Murphy, and I'm running for state representative because I have 20 years of experience volunteering in the community, not getting paid. So this work that I do is not because it's my occupation. This is something that I was concerned to want to do. I also recently was instrumental in writing and drafting the language to be incorporated in the master plan to get $200 million implemented over the next 10 years in urban neighborhoods, because I felt like our neighborhoods were being neglected when it comes down to economic development. I also was instrumental in being the chairperson of the Weed and Seed program. Those of you that is not familiar with it, it's a federal, state, and local program. The weed deal with law enforcement, and the seed deal with planting new seeds. This started in 1998. Up under this leadership, there have been 3 additional Weed and Seed, downtown Flint Weed and Seed, in the east side Weed and Seed, and the northeast Weed and Seed area. This has came up under the leadership of me being instrumental in the Weed and Seed organization. And I decided to run because I got tired of the political bickering, the not getting the things done in the community, and I want to be an effective community leader in the neighborhood.
Thank you very much. That concludes the opening statements for the candidates that are here. And so we will move on to the questioning. The first question will come from Paul Rosicki and goes to Donna Calvin. You have 60 seconds, by the way, to frame your answer.
First of all, I'd like to thank all the candidates for being here today, for taking the time. And my first question is this, that certainly one of the biggest issues this year is roads in Michigan and the problem with our roads. As a state lawmaker, what would you do to improve the roads, and in particular, would you advocate a tax increase, gasoline tax or otherwise, to raise more funds to pay for repairing our roads?
I would hope that the guys that are there now will get this done before the year is out. It's been something that we've been looking at for over 17 years. We don't want taxes. People who don't want taxes. I would look into just taking it out of the budget. And from my understanding, it can be anywhere from up to like 200. Oh, it's like in the billions of dollars that I remember reading. But looking at maybe taxing, coming in, or putting up whole roads along to pay on toll roads, and where the system would have to pay into that. Maybe that as a way of paying for it.
Thank you.
All right, same question goes to David Davenport.
I have been thinking about it for a long time, and I know raising taxes really is not going to hit well with people. My main concern would be I would try to add it somehow to the lottery. The lottery generates millions and millions of dollars a year. It's even said that it goes to the school system. but they didn't tell you that it only goes to how many children you have in the school system pertaining to how much you get. So that excess that would be there, I would try to find a way to get it to be put on the roads. If that means maybe raise a lottery ticket, maybe a quarter a piece or whatever, that's where I would try to get the funds from. And then also I would go to the federal government and see what kind of grants they have that would help us out. I mean, that's it's there for the taking, we just gotta find it.
All right, same question, 60 seconds, Nathan Morrish.
I've given this a lot of thought. We all drive the roads, and so we all know how horrible our travels are right now. And honestly, I think that if one person had the answer, it would be done already. I think that as a state representative, I would look to work with both sides of the fence, working bipartisan, to come up with a viable solution prior to the idea of an increase in the fuel tax. I do not support the idea of an increase in fuel tax. I think we all know as drivers that this is probably inevitable, that the fuel tax is going to get raised. Something that I would push
You got 15 seconds.
is that it's specified specifically only for road repairs, road construction.
Yeah, we do that, Nathan, so that you can finish complete your thought, and also because this is a really cool bell. 60 seconds, Sheldon Neeley.
It's a very, is my mic?
Did you get this? Okay, you're good.
No, it's okay. Who's running the board over there? Is Maze back there?
No. Hey.
No, it's a very complex problem. It's going to call for a complex answer to this particular problem, and we have to look at shared sacrifice. We need to eliminate the waste in government, state government, maybe looking at the high inflated salaries for some of the government officials. I'm talking about on an administrative level, not on the workers level. We need to look at that, and also restoring state revenue sharing to local municipalities such as Flint, and then we can carry the burden of taking care of our local roads in a better fashion. And then only at we look at raising the gas tax on individuals, we have to restore seniors, eliminating some of the taxations to their pensions so we can move the burden from one place to a diverse balance to make sure that everybody has more disposable cash to pay for that. And so when we look at this complex problem of our roads in Michigan, we need to look at several ways to eliminate it, not just in one particular area, but we need to make sure that we can do it and have shared sacrifice from residents to elected officials to residents.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Quincy Murphy, same question, 60 seconds.
I would change the roads to include sidewalks too. A lot of us are dealing with infrastructure problems with the sidewalks. Not only would I do that, I also would incorporate fuel companies to share the cost of the roads because they is a monopoly, and the insurance companies. So between the fuel company and insurance companies, I would go after them to pay for the roads and not increase gas taxes.
Thank you, and one final response from Jeff Bean, 60 seconds, same question.
I would say where I wouldn't go first would be a gas tax, because that seems to be an unfair tax on the middle class, lower class, the people who have to hit the pumps on a regular basis. I also wouldn't look at a toll system, because that has a tendency to hit independent truckers unfairly, who have already been hammered by high gas prices. So that's something that I wouldn't necessarily pay attention to. Where I would look is a more responsible taxation at the corporate level. The businesses, the massive businesses who are benefiting probably the most from our roads. I think we've moved away in a ridiculous fashion away from some kind of responsible taxation at that upper level. So I think that's a possibility for raising money. I also would want to make sure that we include some kind of rubric or 10-year plan for a continual preventative process for improving roads, that we're not always working at a crisis level.
Thank you.
Thank you. Susan Demas will ask the next question, and it goes first to David Davenport.
Inside Michigan politics has the 34th district as an 89% Democratic district. So odds are that whoever wins the August 5th primary will be the next state representative. Do voters deserve more competitive districts, and would you support redistricting reform?
First question is, do voters deserve a more
More competitive district.
district?
More 50-50 than all.
Right. Well, I see it as is that no matter how it's redistricted or the districts are, I mean, they're human lives. So no matter what it is, whoever fills that position has to have human life first. So it really wouldn't matter to me how it's district, how it's redistricted. If it is what it is, if people like what I'm doing, then no matter what their political stance is, they will support me. So really, bottom line, it wouldn't matter to me. A human life is a human life, so the lines where they drawn wouldn't faze me none, to be honest with you.
Nathan, 60 seconds, same question.
I think that each person who is involved in politics, who follows politics, who talks politics, has the freedom to choose what party they're going to be with, and I don't think that people are being dictated to that, you have to, if you live in Genesee County, if you live in Flint, you have to be Democrat. I think that the common idea is that most people in Flint are Democrat-believing people, and I think that revolves around the middle class, the lower class. I really, truly believe that Democrats lean more towards the working people, and that's what Flint is. As far as redistricting, I've seen some of the effects of it already, and I do agree with redistricting. Do I agree with the bounds that they've set right now? No, I don't.
Thank you. Same question, Sheldon.
Can you repeat the question for me, please?
Sure. Inside Michigan politics has the 34th district as an 89% Democratic district. So odds are that whoever wins the August 5th primary will be the next state representative. Do voters deserve more competitive districts, and would you support redistricting reform?
Yeah, and that's a good question, but this race is already very competitive. Just look at the panel. So it's a very competitive race already. As it relates to party lines, Democrat and Republican, even in this particular race, you have some Democrats running as a Democrat but has more of a Republican view, and they disguise themselves as Democrats to run in this particular race. So redistricting, no, I wouldn't want to support redistricting because the population, and we talk about race, we talk about people where they reside, if it's a Korean community, a black community, a Hispanic community, or a white community, those districts are drawn so somebody from that particular area could represent the most people that they live around. So redistricting is a very complex issue, and they addressed it in the 60s when they talked about redlining different districts, gerrymandering different districts to make sure, people will have representation that looked and thought like them. So I would not want to support any particular redistricting, but every race is a very competitive race.
And Quincy Murphy, same question, 60 seconds.
For inside politics to give statistics for the 34th district, I think inside politics should also do a statistics on the other districts besides the 34th district that is not just Democratic. So I will pose that question back to inside politics to look at the other districts and look at the percentages of the Republican districts and would they want to redistrict those districts that's predominantly Republican districts, and are you trying to break up a district that is majority Democratic district? I think that would be disenfranchising the Democratic and areas where majority African Americans represent those areas, and majority of people that live in this neighborhood is Democrat. It is what it is. So I think the playing field should be fair. So if they want to look at the studies on the 34th district, I think they should look at the study on all the other districts and then bring those statistics and make it public.
Thanks. Jeff Bean, same question, 60 seconds.
I think 89% is probably a little low. I absolutely believe we need redistricting. It's a key problem in the state of Michigan. In the last election, we had a state that elected President Obama and yet have a lock on Republicans within both houses of Congress. I think that's absolutely ridiculous. Texas is a prime example of the continual problem of political gerrymandering and drawing of districts when any one of the political parties has that power. So the people of Michigan have lost their voice in the way that this state is districted correct currently. I think in reform, the reform I would support would be a non-political committee that could sit down with common sense, with the real needs of the people in certain areas, and create districts based on those things.
Okay, Donna Calvin, same question.
We were redistricted in 2010 after the census, and there was a call from the city for people to come out and be a part of that, which I did come out and as much as I could be was a part of that. So I would agree with Mr. Bean that in some kind of reform to have a neutral group that would lead that in the redistricting. But every time we have a census, you're going to be redistricted because of the amount of people that you may have or may not have. I do believe that the 34th district represents Flint because it is primarily Democratic, and we do know that black people usually vote Democratic. There are not a lot of black Republicans. So in the reform, I would like to see that it would be a group of people that were, you know, I'm not even going to say bipartisan, but a group of people that can do that don't have either one, you know.
And when you mentioned that about black Republicans, I was expecting George to put on his Romney button.
Not many.
David, did we start the round with you? So the next question comes from George Mossrather, and we'll start with Nathan Morrish.
Okay, I want to first of all commend all the panelists. I'm very impressed with all of you. And if either of you win, they'll have a quality candidate in Lansing. I came to Flint in 1966, and when I came here, there were 80,000 persons employed at General Motors, and when General Motors picked up, the jobs left. And yet I hear the politicians saying that they are able to create jobs. What I want to know is, how do you see the role of government in terms of job creation? And do you share my view, or do you share most economists' view that the private sector creates jobs? And if that is in fact true, then what would you do in terms of stimulating that so the jobs are created in Michigan, since I don't think government can actually do that?
My thoughts are geared towards working with the colleges and universities that we have in the community and giving initiatives to our talent and our graduates from our schools to create and build upon their businesses within our community, whether it be via tax abatements or opening your business here, or employing Flint residents here, or Michigan residents for that matter. So I would gear most of that towards our colleges and universities here, especially in the 34th district. There's so much talent that we can capture in Flint, Michigan, that we need to give these brains incentive to stay here. We need to first, though, address our crime to invite them to have their business here.
Okay, Sheldon Neeley, same question.
Yes, I would agree that the private sector does create jobs, and the role of government is to assist those private sector businesses to come and have a place to do business so that the jobs can be brought to local communities such as Flint. And that public-private partnership has to go forth to attract people. We have to do a better job of marketing, especially in our community inside the city of Flint, marketing to those companies that might want to do business here, where we have assets in the state of Michigan with our fresh water resources, and also to incentivize some business growth in our community, and also to talk about programs in our secondary educational school systems that teaches entrepreneurship and business development, whereby we can take some of that intellectual capital prior to getting to a university. We first had to graduate them from high school and give them the role and responsibilities of creating jobs for themselves and teaching those jobs. And the role of government can assist them in providing low-interest loans and property, and incentivize them that way to create their own businesses. They're willing to grow their community.
Thank you. And Quincy, same question.
That's a good question. First of all, we have to clean up the neighborhoods and clean up the image of the city of Flint, and that's why I've been working so hard over the last 20 years, doing different small neighborhood cleanups, adopting Bowie Park, and keeping vacant lots, because you got to make the city of Flint attractive to make private sectors want to come here. Secondly, for the last 3 years, I've been attending the meetings with Racer. What Racer is organization when General Motors went bankruptcy, Racer took over the industrial sites, and I was following those meetings, trying to see the redevelopment, as far as the contamination of the old sites, the cleanups, the redevelopment. So me attending those meetings allowed me the opportunity to see what was coming down the pipeline as far as redevelopment in the city of Flint. When you look at the railroad off of 475, the highway, that's very attractive to industrial sites and private sectors.
Thank you. Same question, Jeff Bean.
I think, yes, I agree that the private sector is most responsible for job creation, although there are some jobs that can come out of government. Obviously, we're looking for one of them. But I think one of our roles is to be a cheerleader for businesses, to draw in new people here. I think we can do that most easily by assuring safe neighborhoods and quality schools so that companies' employees feel comfortable in coming here and maintaining their business here. I think we can make taxation fair and consistent. There is this mistake that taxes have to be ridiculously low. I think most companies, as long as the tax is fair and consistent, they can deal with it. They'll be able to use it. I also would work in supporting Representative Phil Phelps in development of a Flint Promise, something that he's been talking about already. So those are the types of things that I think we can do as the legislators to promote quality business.
Donna Calvin, same question.
Can you ask the question again?
I was saying, what is government's role in terms of creating jobs? Because many times politicians say that they are going to create jobs. I'm asking for something specific. What does government do? What role does it play in that possibility?
In the creation of jobs, I would see that we would have to go someplace, whether it's outside of the country, especially for the city of Flint, because our base is a manufacturing town. And if we went somewhere and found people, places, other countries, whoever, that could utilize our manufacturing, and then the people there that could actually do those types of manufacturing jobs, because if you bring jobs in that the people that we have here can't do, that's not going to help, because you're still not going to have jobs if you want to create a tax base. So, when I thought about that, I thought about going to a country, maybe they make somebody who makes maybe a small car that could be made here on a much lower level than how we pay General Motors and things like that, but that it would be able to give people jobs, because people out here that would be able to do them.
David Davenport, same question, 60 seconds.
Well, the bottom line is a lot of businesses want to know that they're safe when they come here. They want to know that their children are going to get educated. I hear a lot of people up here talk about education. I didn't see no one run for the Board of Education to understand the administrative part of it and what laws need to be changed to help move the school system along. Bottom line is that as long as you have crime, as long as you have these education issues, it's going to be hard to do anything. So you got to get up there and restructure the educational system to meet today's times, and you got to restructure the laws of crime. 10, 20 life. If you pull a gun and you don't use it, you get 10 years to the door. You do 10 years. If you pull the trigger and the person doesn't die, they do 20 years to the door. And if you kill someone, you do life. It's the bottom line. We got to stop playing if we want to get companies to want to come back up in here. So that's what I would kind of structure.
All right, that wraps up round one of the questions, but we're going to have a little bonus round, if you will. Susan Demas has traveled the furthest, I think, to be here and be part of this forum, so she gets the extra question to round out the hour. And first response will come from Sheldon Neeley.
Proposal 1 on the August ballot finalizes the repeal of the personal property tax on business equipment, which especially impacts manufacturers. It would also replace most of the revenue lost from this tax cut. Do you support Proposal 1?
I do support Proposal 1. One of the things that, especially in the city of Flint, being part of the local unit of government here, I see a lot of the manufacturing industries inside the city of Flint, and when I surrounding our county area. And a lot of them have already received a personal property tax abatement from the city of Flint because we have laws already currently on the books whereby we can provide that as an incentive for businesses to come. And they have done so inside the city of Flint. But Proposal 1 specifically talks about the replacement of that lost revenue stream. And so we need to talk about how we can return unrealized revenue to communities such as Flint, in which Proposal 1 will do so. So I do support that in short.
Okay, same question to Quincy Murphy.
Being that I deal with equipment now and have equipment that ain't working, and to see the struggle of small businesses like my organization dealing with equipment and struggling to try to find capacity to maintain the communities, I would look at considering that proposal.
All right, thank you. We'll move the answers down to Jeff Bean, 60 seconds.
I've moved towards proposal, but I wasn't starting out actually in favor of it. In talking to a lot of small business people, I realize it's absolutely necessary. I get that. I'm still a little queasy about the local authority and who's going to determine that local authority. When I look at how Governor Snyder tends to look at local governments and see them as something just that he gets to move around as opposed to what serves the people of that city, I get a little nervous about that and worry about who's going to bear the true burden of replacing that tax stream. To just jump in and be really in favor of an income tax in Flint, again, brings that back to the middle class, the lower class to bear that burden. So I'm not sure about that, but in general, I support Proposition 1.
Okay, Donna Calvin.
Yeah. My concerns would be the same. How is that money going to be allocated by local government? And the way we see what's going on with our local government right here in the city, we wouldn't want them to be overdoing that. I would have to vote no on it at this time, just because of not having the satisfaction of knowing how that's gonna be allocated, and it may have to go on the ballot again later on. I don't know, but I would vote no.
David Davenport.
You can only burn me one time in life. And this city told its residents that if you vote for a police millage, you would get the proper public safety out there, and they turned around and they said, oh, well, we're gonna keep this back for something else, just in case we need this. And then they started laying off officers in this budget. Until I see, or until I hear who's gonna bear the burden, I definitely won't support it. Because clearly, yes, small businesses are doing good by it, will be doing good by it, but you never know where those taxes are gonna fall, and I would not put my constituents in that situation. I would wait to see before I make that decision. But can't burn me twice.
Nathan.
I too have flip-flopped with this whole Proposal 1 thought. I've been reading about it, I've been asking multiple people, what are your thoughts on this? Overall I support it for our small businesses, but again, I worry about the allocation of the funds. Is it indeed going to help our schools? Is it going to help our public safety? I worry about that, and at this time, if I were going to vote today, I would vote yes.
Okay, that rounds up that question. We're going to take a short break, and then we'll come back for another session in just a few minutes. And in the meantime, we're going to have a little treat. We've got some really great entertainment scheduled for the people that are here live. And we'll hear a couple of songs from Heather Jones from Jones, and they're wonderful. And I've always said the talent pool in and from Flint and the surrounding area is as good as you're going to find anywhere in the world. And they certainly prove that all the time. And they're leaving the area this fall. We're going to miss them a lot, but here's a chance to get to see them, and also a chance for the candidates who are probably sitting a lot closer to each other than they'd like to take a little break and spread out, and we'll reconvene here in just about 10 minutes or so, and we'll do the second hour of our forum.